I've noticed a lot of times when I walk on an airplane that when I go through first class, there are businessmen sitting there in their shirts and ties, and they're reading. Now, they're not reading People magazine, that adult comic book that comes out. They're reading, it's probably the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post, New York Times, or a book, a business book, or Business Week magazine, but they're reading. Or they've got their computer out and they're working. I can't help but notice that every time I don't get to sit in first class. I sit in the back. As a matter of fact, I don't even sit in the back. I stand in the back and I hold a strap, like on the old bus. But business leaders, political leaders, people who are leaders are constantly trying to learn. They are learners. And this whole series is about what do leaders do? Well, they learn. They never stop learning. Right? Now, I'm a one-man band here. I'm the only person I lead is me. I'm my only employee, and there are days when I get up and I'm pretty unhappy with my staff, and it's me, right? But I want to continually learn. So I'm like I said before, I'm Amazon's best friend. I'm studying, trying to learn. We all need to do that. And leaders want to learn. I want to know, when it says 21 spices go into this recipe, I want to know what they are. I read the side of milk cartons. I read the labels on cans. I'll read anything I can get my hands on. That's what leaders do. They're attempting to learn. They study formally. They go back to school. They'll take a Harvard course or a Harvard series of 3 or 4 courses for a certificate. They'll be enrolled at Northwestern. They'll be over at Vanderbilt or down at Georgia Tech or Florida. They'll be going back to school to take courses from professors and instructors that they know are good and in things that they want to learn and need to learn. They know they have to keep learning. Now, remember I've said you want to hear this because it's important, and I say everything I say is important. But you all know what the term comparative advantage means? What? Comparative advantage is the advantage you have over other people, your competitors. I believe it was Robert Reich, but I'm not sure. Somebody wise said in the last few years, and I wrote it down, I forgot who said it, the only comparative advantage anybody or any company has is the ability to learn more and learn faster than their competition. And that's true for us as individuals. We can be outsourced. College professors used to believe they were nice and safe. People had to come in their classrooms to hear them. I've taken some coursework at Southwestern College in Wichita, Kansas. The director of the instructor was in Arizona. Right? I'm sitting in Wisconsin taking a course in Kansas from an instructor who was in Arizona. And so the concrete college campus has to compete with that. Right? We compete with the world. China turns out more honor students every year than we have students. Right? We have got to upgrade our national learning. We have got to improve the educational level of the people of the United States. I read from an article that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, I believe, put out, somebody put out, but anyway, 50%, 1 out of every 2 people who sit down to fill out a job application can't read and write well enough to do it correctly. And we have to compete with the world. Leaders know that, and they know that about themselves. They have to keep learning. And so they study formally. They think, and I've talked about thinking already, but they sit quietly and spend time thinking and reflecting. Reflecting on what's going on around them, what they've read, what they see in their competition, what they see nationally and internationally, and they sit quietly and they think. They reflect on what they have read, seen, heard, tasted, smelled, know, and say, what does this mean to me and my company? This reflective learning. I've told people, and maybe I've already said it in these discussions, we don't learn just by reading. And I read as much as I can, and it helps to learn, but that's not how we really learn. And we don't really learn by doing something. I've told people, if I learned by doing, I would have only had one hangover in my whole life. And I can tell you, I've had a lot, some of them I barely survived, I think. I'm glad I quit drinking a long time ago. No. All right? So we don't learn by reading, we don't learn by doing. We learn by thinking about what we are doing, what we are reading, what we are hearing. What does this mean? The human being is the only creature that we are aware of on the planet that constantly applies meaning to things. Now, we may apply the wrong one, right? And that's too bad, but we apply meaning, and so we are searching for meaning, and that's how we learn. We write it down. I remember years and go back in 1970, I worked for a man named James Mack. And Mack never went anywhere with a long yellow pad and a pocket full of black felt tip pens. He was always making lists of things he had to do. And the next page down, he was making lists of things that he was learning. Things that he saw and heard that might be important. And then he wrote them in a journal at night. That way he could learn from it. I know individuals who are powerful people. They're leaders of corporations, and they have coaches. They have coaches to help them hone their skills. Right? I've been a coach for people in the U.S. Senate. Leaders are always wanting to improve. Now, they don't only want to improve themselves. They want to improve their organization. Because just one person isn't good enough. And you will remember, I said a long time ago, that no organization, no leader, no CEO is any better than the people who work for them. And so it's in our best interest to bring out the best in those people. And so we develop our organization as a learning organization. If you believe that people can learn as individuals, and if you believe that people can have synergy, that they can work together, then it only makes sense that they can learn together and that they can teach one another. Okay? Thank you.